Hello, welcome to Economy of Trust Show. Today, my guest is Bruce Talley, a world-class business development expert. He is working tirelessly right now to bring affordable housing to Ukraine in a very, very interesting way through modular container homes that can be used practically for anything. Please enjoy the show. We're looking forward to see more people like Bruce coming to Ukraine. Support the show, promote the show. We'll talk to you soon. Bruce, hello. Welcome to Economy of Trust Show.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Henry.
Excellent. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. Obviously, we're going to talk about what you're focused on in Ukraine now. I know you're doing a lot of work. You're running around Americans should not be running around for Ukraine, but you do. And I want to first and foremost allow you to introduce yourself as an expert in what you do, so our audience understand your expertise overall from experience point of view and what your current focus is.
Oh, thanks a lot, Henry. Yes, my name is Bruce Talley. My background is in finance, specifically the bond markets. Subsequent to that, I've been involved in land ownership and commercial land ownership and development, and built the largest destination management company in Sochi, Russia. We had contracts with about 45 companies for relocation services, TV studios, offices, staffing, transportation, warehouses, everything you can think of, catering, laundry. And now we have, for several years, we've been working on providing housing for folks in distressed situations, climate refugees, conflict refugees, homeless people. And so very quickly after the war started in Ukraine, after Russia invaded, obviously our TV screens and our phones were filled with images of desperate people leaving their homes and seeking refuge in other places. So we're concerned about the internally displaced people in Ukraine. We're concerned about the refugees that are, have flooded into Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, and other countries in Europe. And we think that we can add value. Our company not only can provide accommodation, can provide temporary housing solutions. And by temporary, I mean from several years up to even 10 or 12 years. But we can provide all the services around that: administrative services, dining, security, accreditation,
it's
whatever you
need. Comprehensive solution to a crisis situation.
Exactly.
Obviously, in Ukraine, you said it's maybe 10, 12 years life of that structure. Knowing the Ukrainian, so to speak, approach to things, it will last 30 to 40 years easily, right? If it's American standard, 10 to 12.
Well, we've seen that some of the refugees from the Donbass around Kharkiv are staying in very, very modest, similar types of construction for a number of years already. So ours are,
way more advanced,
that are winterized and.
So, but we also, let's talk about this. Before we do this, obviously you're working with some of the largest producers and some of the best producers of this type of housing in the world. Right. So why are those companies interested in Ukraine now?
Well, there's an untapped market. Several of them are excited about the possibilities of providing solutions, adding value, and of course, the commercial applications of this. And we've had conversations about potential eventual production facilities being established even in Ukraine. So there's an opportunity for employment, and there's an opportunity to help safeguard people's well-being.
Well, not only that, but obviously this type of a construction, this type of a facility can be used in many other industries, not just housing itself, right? It can be used for storage, it can be used for schooling, daycare. And as we understand, most of the Ukraine will need to be rebuilt. Even those areas that are not touched will have to go some major infrastructure changes anyway. This is also can be used easily on the construction sites for many different workers that are living in areas like Bucha, Gostomel, and alike, correct?
Absolutely correct. The great one of the great qualities about our solutions are that they're flexible. They're modular. They can be stacked, 4 or 5 high, and they can be used for schools. They can be used for retail purposes. We see a lot of those smaller retailers. If you're in Kharkiv, you've seen these smaller retails that are closer to the big apartment blocks like the Saltivka. I'm not talking about the large retail,
Sure.
The Ashan, the Akay type of stores, but the smaller ones that are maybe 80 square meters to 300 square meters. Those were destroyed along with the apartment buildings. Our solution would be fantastic for that. It would be great for preschools, for offices, for.
But I see this as a great way of using to generate and encourage entrepreneurship. Think about all these bazaars and flea markets throughout Ukraine. Your containers can become a common place, a place that unites people, where people can interact in many different ways, including selling and babushkas selling different types of stuff they produce from their backyards.
Yeah, and you've seen this around some of the markets. Some of the smaller retailers around the markets have been badly damaged. This would be an excellent way. They can be secured, they can be winterized, they're insulated, and there are a variety of kind of from the most basic to a more luxurious type of interior, so that the buyer's got a choice.
So now you are also currently in talks with multiple manufacturers of this. In order to ship some of the sample units to Ukraine, in order to be touched, feel, and so on. Explain your strategy. What are you thinking?
Well, clearly, it makes a lot of difference if your buyer can actually touch. Anyone can send a pamphlet out or a digital brochure to a potential decision maker or stakeholder, but we think that it shows our commitment to the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian government, demonstrating our ability, our willingness to work with them. And of course, we say in America, if you can kick the tires, it makes a difference. And certainly we want people, stakeholders, to be able to kick our tires.
So if I am the mayor who wants to kick your tires, give me your pitch. Why should I consider, as a mayor of a city of 50,000 people, why should I consider your product on the level of my municipality?
A couple of reasons. We're responsive. We'll listen to you, what your needs are. We understand that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. And in addition to being willing to work with you, we work quickly. We have a commitment to Ukraine. I'll be there. I'll be around. I'm not
So you'll be moving to Ukraine to work on this.
Yes, we're planning to open an office so that we can demonstrate our product, so people can meet us and they can kick our personal tires, not just the tires of our cargo container conversions. So yeah, we'll be there. And we also, I think I mentioned to you, we are having some very serious conversations about what it might look like in the future to open a production facility in Ukraine.
That's what would be most exciting for any mayor, right? If you can set up a facility in my town and create jobs.
Create jobs and improve people's lives. We don't think that that we can do anything without adding value, and we always look to add value. And one of the ways that we hope to be able to do that is by employing people. And of course, you also achieve some economies if your production are there. You don't have the tremendous costs of moving some of the logistics. You still have some logistics issues always, but it's a long ways from.
Do you see an opportunity to have several facilities, production facilities throughout the country?
You don't know yet. I don't know the answer to that. I'd love to say yes, but I don't want to be overpromised.
We obviously in the early stages right now. So
it's the other thing is, Henry, it's really going to depend upon what the demand is like. If we've got a lot of business in front of us, why not? Certainly.
Well, this is one of the things that you and I have discussed, is how you position this, how you finance this, and so on. So in my view, and I want to also ask your opinion about it, in my view, this type of housing can be financed through different type of leasing mechanisms where private equity provides the capital to purchase them and then leases back to municipalities or individuals or companies and earn money on financing of it. But yet for the companies in Ukraine, it's not a big expense to be there months to months.
Makes a lot of sense, and that's leasing is always an attractive option. Of course, private equity or any sort of private company that is involved in this would be holding the lease ultimately.
Correct.
But yeah.
And I always see the opportunity for to serve construction industry where you set up 10 units that are construction fitted in terms of construction sites, and you can just rent them out to the different sites. There's multiple ways of creating a business opportunity from that.
And here's another attractive option for customers in Ukraine. These units, their lifespan isn't months, as you said, it's years. They've been used for refugee housing, for victims of climate, for homeless people, for university housing in the Netherlands for 12 or 15 years. But at the end of that time period, when their usefulness, when they're no longer being used for whatever reason, this is not an asset that completely depreciates. It can be repurposed, moved, sold, reused again.
Simple storage, right? Or a garage.
It can wind up being a simple storage unit. Absolutely.
You know how Ukrainians love their garages, right? So it can be a garage as well.
That's right. It works very well for that. So you've got a real opportunity to invest in something that has an extended lifespan that isn't going to collapse in a period of time.
Well, I think it's a very needed product for Ukraine, and I'm very much, as an American as myself, I very much appreciate your passion for Ukraine and what you're doing, running around like crazy. And I never know where you are, but yet at the same time, as you know, we have ability in Ukraine to distribute your product throughout the country. We established those relationships specifically for customers like manufacturers of your product. And ideally, as you going through the conversations now of negotiating the deals, we would like to create a competition amongst the producers to create different. So for example, if we are looking to build 3 to 5 production facilities, why not have 3 to 5 different companies have production facilities in different parts of the country?
Yeah, and competition is always good for everyone. So
excellent. That's hopefully you and I will pitch that to mayors. So Bruce, one of the things I want to point out, because what you do, I think, can play a very critical role for small and medium-sized businesses of Ukraine. And also entrepreneurs. So, I mean, you can create this co-working space in a small city where you have one container and 10 desks with computers for kids in the villages. As you know, I started a program, United Students of Ukraine, where we're helping companies with working capital, providing working capital for companies now in Ukraine. In your opinion, how important it is during the war to support small business in Ukraine in order to be successful after the war?
Well, that's a great question, but small business is always a bedrock of an economy, I think, and that's where large businesses grow from. So, you see when you travel around Ukraine, you see the fantastic number of businesses that have been closed down, folks that are unemployed, businesses that aren't generating any cash flow. And I think that is going to be important as we move forward, that folks have the support to reopen the markets, that they have the working capital to get their cafe, to get their production facility going. One of the things that concerns me is, and this is an ongoing issue, right? It's been that way since 2014, is how much of the industrial capacity of Ukraine has been destroyed or very badly damaged. And so
I don't think we know this. We will not know that for a while.
Right. But all that impacts people, and the flow of people are sort of, you see this when you travel around. People are kind of sloshing around. They're going back and forth across the borders from Moldova, from Ukraine, from Poland, or certainly from to and from Ukraine, but also from Poland and Moldova and Romania and these other countries. So I think a lot of that is going to depend on what sort of opportunities are available for them when they come back to Ukraine, what the situation looks like. And if there are programs for small businessmen to get their businesses started back up. If there's financial support, I think it'll make a lot of difference in repopulating some of these cities, which are, tragic.
That's really critical to attract back the people who left. So,
Right.
Bruce,
You don't want to have along with the humanitarian crisis, which is the first thing that we all think about. And we see these scenes, and traveling around is heartrending to see the women and the children leaving without their husbands. You see them quietly crying on the trains in Poland and in Moldova, and there's tragedy everywhere. But along with that humanitarian catastrophe, we don't want Ukraine to suffer a brain drain. We don't want the best and the brightest, the folks like you, to be gone forever.
Thank you. Well, I am definitely going back, and thank you for putting me in the ranks of the brightest. Anyway, Bruce, thank you so much for your time. This was fascinating. I'm definitely personally committed to help you in any way that I can in order to bring your product to Ukraine. I believe it has a lot of opportunity to grow. So thank you very much for your time, and great to see you.
One other issue I wanted to raise real quickly, Henry. We're having a lot of conversations, not just with companies that supply container conversions, modular housing, and modular structures, but also I'm due to be interviewed on several podcasts that are going to be widely seen by people in the construction world here in the United States and Canada. Excellent. So we think that there are other companies that will have technical expertise as we move forward, and constructing. Certainly there are very competent construction engineers and architects and companies in Ukraine. There's no question in anyone's mind about that, but can that be augmented as we move forward, particularly if there are changes, for instance, in Ukrainian building codes and these kinds of things. So there's going to be a lot of technical expertise. There's going to be a lot of long-term experience that Ukraine can tap into. And so I'm really, one of my focuses right now is to extend our reach so that these American companies know that they've got access through us.
That's going to be part of our work together, is because part of what we need to do is to bring those companies into Ukraine because of the expertise, not even financial resource, but technical expertise is what more needed than actual money. So again, Bruce, thank you so much for your time. It was great to see you. Guys, thank you for watching. Please share our show, like it, and we'll see you soon.